Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, AppStack. This is Amanda Nelson. I'm on the AppExchange team, and I'm really excited today to show you not one, not two, not five, not even 10 probably. You're going to see so many apps today. Some apps you might know, some you might not. And in 30 minutes, you're going to get a jam-packed webinar with some amazing customers. In fact, you're really not going to hear from AppExchange at all. You're going to hear just from our customers. And the host for today's today's AppStack is Geraldine Gray. She is a Salesforce MVP and also CEO of Envium. And she's going to kick it off. Hi, Geraldine. How are you?
Hi. Good morning. How is everybody? We're good. We're in Houston, and it's pouring with rain this morning.
It is pouring rain here, also outside of New York. So, but super sunny and exciting here at this webinar for sure.
Should we get started? Are you ready, Amanda? Are we ready, participants?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So my name is Geraldine Gray. I'm a Salesforce MVP. Going to be talking to you today about a tool that we've been working with called All in the Stack. First of all, let me invite you to please join us and participate. We're hoping that we'll have a couple of extra minutes during this webinar where we can actually go live and see some of the stacks that you've built. If you go to allinthestack.com, you can create your own custom stack, and you can show other Salesforce users, partners, and customers how you solve your business problems by using tools from the AppExchange. You can build out your stack here at All in the Stack, and then you can publish it and tweet it, and then hopefully we'll be able to grab it at the end. Also, we'd like to see what you're using so that perhaps you can be part of another webinar in the future. Okay, our customer trailblazers for today are one who needs no introduction whatsoever, Cheryl Feldman. Cheryl is on the, she's on the login screen on most people's Salesforce orgs. So you're gonna recognize Cheryl and you'll be able to put a voice to that face. And Lisa Kendall Wheeler, who's from Bracket Labs, and I've been told that she is their secret weapon. Lisa and Cheryl, hi.
Hi.
Hey, welcome. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl is frantically finding the mute button. That's okay, Cheryl. We'll find it by the time it's your turn to talk about all things, we'll find it when it's your turn to talk about all your all in the stack. So first up, I'm going to start with Lisa. So Lisa, please tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you have been using Salesforce, and what your current role is at the Bracket Labs team.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my name is Lisa. I've been using Salesforce for 6 years. My current role is I'm the senior support analyst. So that's my interaction with our customers. And then I'm also one of the internal administrators for Bracket Labs. There's a few of us internally that kind of manage our Salesforce instance.
Okay. And what sort of problems do you come across during your day-to-day job? Because I'm going to show you your stack, and then we're going to talk about how you solve some of those.
Sure. So in my day-to-day internal administration job, we will get requests from our sales team. We'll get requests from the accounting and finance team. That's actually the group I work with the most often, as well as our HR team for changes in Salesforce to kind of improve processes or automate, or a lot of what it is to kind of adjust the data that we're gathering. So adding pick list values or updating records to make sure that the pick lists are coming through correctly and that we're actually getting the right data out of the interactions we're having with our customers. So a lot of my day-to-day work is just that kind of little fixes that I think every admin in Salesforce does. Outside of that, I am here to help customers. I work with our customers on new use cases, walk them through kind of current customizations. I'm happy to collaborate when they have, an interesting kind of complex problem to solve. I will jump in and take a look and kind of give our recommendations and help them work through to the right solution with TaskRay and Salesforce.
Cool. Okay, so your job is divided into two halves, it sounds like. One is supporting internal users, and the other is supporting your customer, the Bracket Labs customers.
Yep, that is really it. Support on all sides for me.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's take a look at your stack. And why don't you tell us a little bit about how you use Conga to fulfill some of your analytics requirements. I have never seen that use case before, so I want to learn about it.
Sure. So for this stack, I picked a couple that kind of were my pie in the sky. For Conga, it's actually a fantastic reporting tool. So while it's typically seen for doc generation, it is pulling data out of Salesforce, so it can be manipulate it into being a reporting tool. So they have a home page button feature. And what you can do is you use SQL queries and an Excel sheet to automate your reports. So a lot of executives need reports out of Salesforce, and there's a little bit of manipulation that has to go on before it's, executive or board ready. So with Conga, it turns all of that work into a one button click. You kind of create the formulas in Excel, you update all your your Excel automations, and then you're able to use SQL queries. So because you're using SQL, you're able to get a lot more information than you would from standard Salesforce reports. So standard Salesforce reports, we're looking at 3 objects max. With a SQL query, you can look at many objects based on the relationships in Salesforce. So for me, it's a better way to kind of get that more advanced data that you're going to want for the executive team.
Okay, and then so that's your analytics output that you're providing to the executive team at Bracket Labs. So then tell us what else you're doing and how you're using some of these other apps. I see that you are a consumer of your own TaskRay app. So tell us about your tell us about the IT and administration. How does that work? And how did these 4 apps, Workato, Squid, and Slack, work together? What's your journey?
So with TaskRay is project management, and we use it internally for task management for kind of my inbox, my system's inboxes. So when one of the users requests a change to a pick list value, or they request a change to their permissions, their profile, we actually follow it all in TaskRay. We use TaskRay to manage it, track it, and kind of assign the work out and make sure it's getting completed, and are able to look at it that way. On top of that, with Slack, we have an integration with Slack, so that means that while I'm just chatting with one of our folks in our Slack channel, instead of having to jump into Salesforce and create a new task and update all of that, I'm able to do it right in the channel. So we have a little TaskRay bot, and I just message the bot, and the bot goes and creates my task for me. It knows where it's supposed to go, and so it saves a lot of clicking. It's a way to also kind of attach the chat. So if I've been talking to, say, one of my accounting users about creating a new report or adjusting the way we're calculating prorate, for example, is a common one I hear about. What I'll do is I'll just immediately attach the chat we've had to that task. So I know exactly what happened. I've seen everything work, and it's right there for me. So that's how we use TaskRay and Slack. It's for bug tracking as well. Squid is...
Wait. Okay, so you are working, so you're working your case, or you're working your ticket, or you're working your job using TaskRay, but then you can also integrate TaskRay to Slack, and then it's going to automatically, there's a bot that will automatically go and create a TaskRay task for something for you to do in the future?
Absolutely. Yep. So it makes it much easier to just kind of, when you're in that moment, when you're thinking about what you're doing, you just kind of type it out in Slack. You don't have to jump into a different web browser. It's all in one spot for me.
Wow, that's a really interesting use case. Okay, so I'm sorry, I interrupt you. Tell us about Squid. Totally. We love Squid.
So Squid, I love Squid as well. So Squid is one of the ones I would love to have. I just haven't been able to justify the budget for it, but Squid would be great for data manipulation. I've used it in the past in other kind of roles for manipulating the UI specifically is what it's most well known for, but data manipulation is great, being able to kind of look at data across multiple objects just in one quick view and being able to really have control over that Visualforce. It makes Visualforce really easy to approach and less intimidating for people that I had never really used Visualforce until I started playing with Squid, and it makes it easy, the drag and drop and the GUI, and their support is just excellent, and it really does kind of make Salesforce everything you could want it to be in terms of the list views and the UI, as well as being able to make sure that the page looks the right for the users so that they're not trying to run around finding things. It's basically giving them exactly what they want. So that always makes the users happy.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
So for people that maybe not have worked with Squid before, let's just mention that it puts a UI wrapper on top of Salesforce or around Salesforce, and it can also bring in external data. So you can combine different objects into one screen, and then you can take data from other systems and push that into Salesforce as well. So you're in Salesforce, but you've got a unique user experience. And as Lisa was talking about, it doesn't require a lot of coding. So it's very easy for people that don't have developer backgrounds to use.
Absolutely, yeah. Squid makes Visualforce and kind of the Apex accessible and comfortable. So if you do want to go learn Visualforce, it makes it a little less intimidating. At least that's what it did for me. So
yeah, sweet.
Last one we use is Workato. Workato is to automate and integrate without actually having to do an integration. So we obviously have external systems. I think everybody does. So things like QuickBooks and I think we use some invoice ones as well. Workato allows us to actually have that integration without having to manage an actual integration, if that makes sense. So it just sends that little bit of data. We need to go back and forth. So that's Workato has just made it so I don't have to manually go update things in different records.
And is this just inside Salesforce, or do you have it going to other tools as well? Because Workato is kind of like a workflow engine that's in and out of different products, right? Does yours just work with Salesforce, or I guess in your dream world, maybe you've set it up to do other things?
So Workato, we have Workato touching almost everything. We have Workato with Slack, letting our sales folks know when a sale's been made, it pops up in Slack as well as Salesforce. We have Workato updating payments for us. We have Workato handling stuff for marketing. Yeah, we have Workato touching, I think, every system we use. So we could base it out of there if we wanted. But yeah, absolutely. We use Workato for all of the system talk.
Sweet. Okay, so what I'm seeing in your IT and admin stack is that you're able to, whether real or perceived, you're able to bring together disparate data and send it all into one place so that ultimately you're working most of your work out of TaskRay, right?
Correct. Yep. Everything is happening around TaskRay. All the work's getting completed in TaskRay, but we use Squid and Workato and Slack to automate that and make it much quicker so that you're not having to jump between login screens.
Okay, brief. Perfect. So before we move on to Cheryl, just very briefly, tell me about TaskRay and HelloSign. What's your use case for that? Because I'm pretty sure your real world use case is about the same as the way that we use it at NDM.
Absolutely. So we use TaskRay for onboarding and offboarding. As we get new people, our HR manager doesn't really have the time to go track down each individual contributor to getting that person onboarded. So I handle the system side. We have someone has to set them up for payments, all of that. TaskRay allows our HR manager to assign all those tasks out and then follow up without having to send multiple emails, go track people down. It makes sure that everything gets done on time so everybody's aware of what needs to be completed before that person starts, without, again, having to waste the HR manager's time creating a huge email and making sure and following up and making phone calls to make sure they have the right licenses. Everything can be seen in the TaskRay view.
And HelloSign?
Yep. HelloSign, we use it just because we can automate it right out of Salesforce to send for any HR documents we need signed. So when you get the new vacation report or new changes to the policies, anything like that, it's all handled via HelloSign so that we have one place, again, in Salesforce that we actually see where those signatures have come in, and it makes it a lot easier for our HR person to track. She's just creating reports in Salesforce versus having to physically find and check a box that she has those documents.
Wow, you guys are really slick. You have got it all organized, and I think you've got a setup that a lot of people would be very envious of.
Yes, it was pretty awesome when I started. I've never seen one this clean, and I just kind of lucked into it, so I don't want to take too much credit on this one.
Well, I know Eric and Blakely. They're the founders of Bracket, and yeah, they're very organized and process-driven, so I'm not surprised at all. Thank you for sharing their secrets. Hopefully some of our Salesforce customers can pick up some of your use cases, and then they can imagine how that these apps might solve some problems for them. So Lisa, I have one question for you, which we'll come back to towards the end. So hold on to it. But if you can have any app from the AppExchange, real, paid, or free, think about what that app would be. So thank you. And Cheryl, while we're just teeing up Cheryl and she's taking herself off mute, just a moment to mention some apps that you may not have heard of. So this is a new app that is covered called Krow. It's been around for a while, but it's had a total facelift and it's all lightning ready. It's a ProServe tool that you can actually afford. It allows you to track your projects, your timelines, your deadlines, do resource assignments and balancing. It's really helpful if you're a company that has people management and you have people that are assigned to do delivery on projects. What's really nice about Krow is that it will integrate with your ERP, so Xero and NetSuite and QuickBooks and such like. So you can send out your invoices, do your billing, do your utilization, do your time and materials expenses. All of that information that is usually held in about 3 or 4 different systems can all come into Salesforce with Krow, and it's actually very reasonably priced, so it'll save you a ton of time. Okay, Cheryl, do we have you? Are you unmuted and ready to?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes. Okay. So Cheryl, come on. Like, just because I ask everybody these questions, tell us a little about yourself. How long,
Sure.
how many decades you have been using Salesforce, and what kind of role do you currently have, and what are you using Salesforce for in that role?
Sure. So I'm Cheryl Feldman. I'm based in New York City. I'm a Salesforce MVP, and I co-lead the New York City Salesforce user group. And you may know me, as Geraldine mentioned before, from the login screen. I'm currently featured on there, but I've been working with Salesforce for 14 years. So I've been around a long time, so it's almost a decade and a half. And in my current role, I'm the product owner of Salesforce. I am on the business side of a very large enterprise financial services organization. And what that means is I oversee our strategy for Salesforce, and that includes both Salesforce, the overall application, as well as a lot of apps that we use either from the admin side or the business side to get different things done.
Okay, so Cheryl, I have to ask you, what's the best thing you've ever built on Salesforce?
I'm sorry?
What is the best thing you have ever built on Salesforce?
Oh, my career, definitely.
Okay, I'm sorry to tease you. We cannot let you go without saying that. Okay. Okay, so Cheryl, you have put together a really, really interesting stack. So let's talk about how you have organized this, because there's a lot of really cool stuff there. So you've divided it into understanding what's in your org, managing your org, and then monitoring and managing user adoption. So first of all, tell me how you would use these apps to understand your org. How does that work?
Yeah, so I put together these different lists of apps within my stack to kind of really help admins. So if we want to start with understanding your org, if we look at Field Trip, what Field Trip allows you to do is to really understand what's actually being used within your objects, meaning which fields. And and one thing I should mention about every single app, except with one caveat, all these are free. So I really wanted to put together something for admins to use that are free, that is accessible to every single person on the AppExchange. So what Field Trip really allows you to do is kind of see what's going on in your different objects, who's using what, who's not using what. So either you can figure out what needs to be cleaned up, or if you're starting in a new role and an org has been around for a while, you can kind of see how people are using things and who's using things.
Okay, and then how does Octopus help? Does that sit on top of or complementary to Field Trip?
Yeah, I think it's definitely complementary. So what Octopus does, it allows you to essentially, with a click of a button, document what's actually in your org metadata-wise. So when I say metadata, that's all of your fields and your objects and your validation rules and even your Apex code. Especially those of us who are working in large enterprise, or those of us who are in older orgs, or maybe you're starting in a new org, you can really kind of take things out of Salesforce that I need to go through object by object and see what's there, and then sit down with maybe some more technical people and figure out what you actually need and what things might be used for.
Okay, and then tell us about Advanced Dev, because I've never heard of it until you told me about it.
Yeah, so Advanced Dev, I actually only recently found maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And what this is this actually installs a package within your org, which actually really helps you search your metadata. And so what you can do, it opens up another tab, and you can actually see, you can say, okay, find me all the phone fields that are in my whole org. And you can actually search specific objects, or you can look at your whole org, or you can say, okay, find me all the phone fields on my contact record, and then it will show you, and it'll show you when it's required and where they are in page layouts. So it's really kind of helpful to see where things are when you're maybe looking to make a change or looking to see what's already there, especially if you have like, a ton of record types and a ton of different groups using Salesforce. It kind of helps you manage things without having to go like to the different screens within Salesforce.
And is that free or paid?
That's free.
It's free. Okay, all right. So if you've got lots of different teams and lots of different record types, you can use Advanced Dev to help you shortcut some of that information and some of the metadata when you're trying to build out for a new team, or when somebody needs an adjustment to one record type.
Yeah.
Okay, and then config workbook. I know how we use this. This is the lazy, easy way to document your org for you. So is that what you're suggesting that people use it for?
Yeah. So I think it kind of takes the first three and then does all of those things plus some more. And they've just introduced something new where it actually lets you compare org to org. So this is my one caveat of free. It allows you to have one org for free, but if you wanted to have like your production org and your sandbox or multiple production orgs, that's when you start getting into the paid plans. But they're really not that expensive for what it can actually do, and it can really start helping you compare. And they also have a new feature where you can see the impact of your changes with some impact analysis. So really, really powerful tool. And even the paid plans are really, not that much speaking in what it can actually do for you.
I think they're always worth it when it's going to save you a ton of time and help your go lives go smoother, right?
Yeah.
Less trouble for a few bucks is definitely worth it. Okay, so then we're looking at managing your org. So why don't you tell us about Agile Accelerator? What does that do?
Yep. So I think we as admins and developers, a lot of us, especially if you're working on a newly formed team or maybe a team that's been around a while and you're managing stuff in email or maybe even managing stuff within cases, I think a lot of us really have started to think about like, how do we manage things in more of a project form where we have multiple different project streams going on, where you have multiple different resources who may be allocated in different ways. And maybe your team doesn't want to have a spend for Jira, or maybe you just want to stay working within Salesforce. That's where Agile Accelerator comes in. And I believe this is the app that Salesforce actually uses internal to manage their development. So it's a really great app, and it's very Jira-like if you've used Jira before. And I think it's a great way to kind of get started to really understand the Agile methodology, which I think also helps admins start thinking about their requirements even deeper.
Yeah, for sure. And it is a tool that was, it's free, it's on the AppExchange, and it was developed by Salesforce to help them use to help manage their own projects internally. Okay, so let's touch on clone this user and the permission, because these are really time-saving apps, and they're both free as well.
Yep. I know I get requests all the time. We have a new salesperson starting. Set them up like this other salesperson. Well, really what that means is you typically have either two screens open or maybe half and half, and you're trying to copy everything over. What Clone This User does is it puts a link on the user record where you can clone this user, and it clones everything, including some of the related stuff, and brings it over to that user, and you just update the name and the email address, and it just saves so much time. And the permissioner, what this allows you to do is mass add people to different permissions or mass revoke permissions, which saves a lot of time if you have permission sets. And let's say you create a permission set to access some new objects you're implementing. Instead of having to go like user by user or profile by profile, you can do this in mass. So, and those are both free tools, and they're both huge time savers as an admin, especially during a go live.
Okay, and then your last app in managing your org, because I haven't heard of this one either.
So Organizer is actually by a fellow MVP, Enrico Maru, I think is how he says his name. It's actually a Chrome extension, and it combines all of those Chrome extensions you may have to kind of manage your different logins into one. And what this actually does is it allows you to color code your different tabs as to which org you're in. It allows you without, breaking whether you're logged into one org or another org. It allows you to have multiple orgs in different tabs in the same screen without having to log out. It allows you to manage different logins. It has like links on the different screens where you can go directly into setup or search different things. It's super powerful and a huge time saver if you have multiple orgs and multiple sandboxes.
Nice. I would just say be really careful that you make sure that you make those changes in the right org and the right sandbox.
Yes. Yep. And that's
at the same time.
Yeah, and that's like why you can color code things. So you can even color code like sandboxes that go together that may be for one group of people and others. You can really color code things to kind of help you visually see what you're actually doing.
Nice. Okay, and then let's very quickly touch on your user adoption.
Yep. So user adoption, I put together a couple of apps here that I think can help you as an admin kind of really help your users make sure they're adopted to Salesforce or getting adopted. So the first one is a pack of dashboards that Salesforce puts out there. And these dashboards really kind of help you see what's going on with your users and see, are they logging in, what they're doing, are they creating records, or how often are they updating records? And it gives you like a base idea, especially if you're new to Salesforce and your company is new to Salesforce, like how well your users are being adopted. And I recommend every admin install those dashboards into their org.
And okay, so you told me about the Trailhead Tracker.
Yeah.
Now let's tell everybody else.
Yeah, so the Trailhead Tracker is actually a really neat package that you can install that allows you to assign trails or modules to different colleagues as well as track how they're doing. So let's say you maybe have like a new admin starting on your team and you want to make sure they take some Trailhead modules, or maybe there's stuff around releases, or maybe you just want to kind of gamify. I know like me and my team, like we gamify things and we kind of see like how many badges we all have and, make sure we're keeping up, and it kind of makes, things a little bit more competitive but fun. So and it's a really good way as a manager if you want to assign people different things to do.
Okay. And so we're going to take some questions, and Amanda's going to jump back in with some feedback. Let me just, as we get to the last few minutes we have, let me mention a couple of apps that I wanted to talk about. So thank you, Cheryl. And also, think about your dream app. I'm going to come back to Lisa. I'm going to come back to you and ask you for your dream app, real, paid, or imaginary. So one app that we've been working with recently is Prolifiq Crush. We've implemented this for a customer. Just wanted to give it a shout out because it's actually really helpful at this time of year when people are doing their account planning, and it allows you to apply templates that fit your business models. And it also, what's really helpful if you're working with big companies, is to put your related companies and subsidiaries and the account planning all in one place, and then to assign tasks to your team. So I just want to give a shout out to Prolifiq and say thank you for helping us with some of our account planning. Amanda, do we have some questions?
We do. This is great. Thank you. The question for Lisa. Lisa, what would you recommend for a popular workflow app?
Ooh, Conga has a workflow app that's pretty good, but it's specific for automating their tools. I love Process Builder. I think Process Builder changed the game. So outside of using just standard Process Builder, I'd have a hard time picking a workflow app. So I think either the Conga workflow one, I'm familiar with that and it's pretty good. Otherwise, Process Builder, I think, can pretty much do anything, but I know that's not technically an app. Sorry about that.
We'll take it, for sure, we'll take it. Amanda, do we have another question? Or shall I move on to, I want to hear from Lisa and Cheryl, what's in their dream stack?
Feel free to keep going, and if we have another minute, we can ask more questions.
Okay, so Cheryl, while you're thinking about your dream app, Lisa, what did you come up with while Cheryl was sharing, like 12 apps in 5 minutes? What did you come up with, Lisa?
So I think if I was to pick an imaginary app, I want something that when I type into the search bar in Salesforce, it does that like Google predictive text and figures out what I meant to type so that I don't have to go back and retype it, or especially into the setup menu, the quick find box in Salesforce. I would like it to somehow know what I'm trying to get to and not kick me out when I misspell something. So that would be ideal, is a Google search tool into the searches in Salesforce.
Google search tool into searches in Salesforce. Okay, so we'll send that over to the UX team and see if they can be working with it.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheryl, what is your dream app?
So my dream app, I think, so one of the apps that Lisa actually talked about is probably as pretty close as it gets, and that's Workato. And I actually thought about mentioning it in my stack, but I saw Lisa had already mentioned it. I think it's probably one of the most powerful apps an admin can have. And I think because you can actually, if you think about it, it's like Process Builder on steroids. Because you're essentially building workflow and automation between, you can actually use it within your Salesforce org or within other apps. And you can do things almost like give your users an AI type experience. Because if you think about like the Slack example, you could potentially, and I've done this before, you can actually connect Slack to Salesforce and ask Slack a question and then have Slack pick that up, have Ricardo pick that question up and search your Salesforce org and put that back into Slack. And then so it gives that your users like that Siri Echo-like experience within their apps. And I think you can do some really, really advanced things with Ricardo. I think it is probably one of the best apps out there on the AppExchange. I really encourage every single admin to at least do a trial of it.
That's an incredible endorsement. So thank you. So I have one app to talk about, which was like one of our dream apps, and that is that the folks at Salespulse have developed this tool that allows you to send out surveys at point in time, and then you can ask your customers, you can ask your team, and you can ask your prospects if you're hitting the mark. It's kind of like my version, I would say, of that AI experience, but you're going to have to. You ask them, how are we doing? Are we meeting your expectations as part of the sales process? They come back and they say yes, no, or other. And then you can help your sales team to ensure they're on track with the customers. It's kind of like that AI experience, I would say. So that's, anyway, Salesforce is on the AppExchange. And it also integrates with Einstein as well. So I think that's my dream app for this week. Okay, I'm going to hand back over to Amanda, and she's going to wrap us up. We are right at the top of the hour.
Yes, oh no, this was great. Thank you. And so many questions are coming in. I know I was pinging you, Geraldine. I appreciate you jumping on all of that. And I apologize, folks, if we didn't get to all your questions today, but we really appreciate you putting them in the chat, and we hope you'll join us again. Same time, same place next month, first Wednesday of the month at 2 o'clock Eastern. So I want to thank Lisa, Cheryl, and very much, of course, Geraldine Gray for joining us today and running the show. And of course, you can build a stack at allinthestack.com. And if you do, you might get pinged to join us and be the speaker for the next webinar, which is March 7th, followed by one April 4 and May 2nd. So please join us. We hope you will. And thank you for being here today. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Lisa. You guys have been absolutely brilliant. Really appreciate you taking part. And for the couple of questions that we didn't get to answer, we'll answer them to you over a line. We'll drop you a line and answer an email to you. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.